Hello everyone and welcome to the online classes of history for class 8. This is Kavita and I hope you people are great. So in our previous video we have covered some part of a chapter number 1, that is how, where and when, and also we have discussed about the importance of date. So let's get started with the second part of our video. Now the next topic that I am going to teach you is very important and a crucial part of this chapter, that is how to choose the important set of dates or which dates are exactly important. So first of all, we need to understand this, that not all historical dates are important. So the ones which are important are purely due to the event that occurred during that particular time. For example, the date 1608 does not make any sense if we did not link it up with the arrival date of East India Company. Therefore, it's the event that makes the date important. Now that I have said this, I can also say that if a focus of study changes and if we begin to look at new issues and new set of dates which will appear significantly, means if we give importance to any particular event, due to that we can create importance of a particular date. I hope that it makes sense. So personally, when I read this line, it makes me think that how many of such events of our history are not being recognized yet, just because we haven't given much importance to them, and due to which we must have missed so many important dates. So we never know, right? What I have said could be true. Anyways, that was just for you to think. Now we have a very good example here. If we see, most of the histories in India were written by British historians because they were the rulers and they were highly educated. These historians began their writings with the rule of the first Governor General, Warren Hastings, and ended with the last Viceroy, Lord Mountbatten. You all also can underline or write the important terms such as the first and the last Governor Generals of India. So, here most of the contents were associated with these personalities who were the Governor Generals, and it also used to be all about their activities, their policies, their achievements, etc. It was as if there was nothing else important apart from these personalities. And what I think is that this is not the correct way of drafting any history. But now you know that we can write about history in many different ways, such as different groups and classes in Indian society during the reign of so and so Governor General. Now, whenever we write history or any story, we divide that into chapters or not? Is it so? Definitely. We divide it into many chapters and many sub-chapters, many subtopics and many contents, so that it becomes easy for all of us to cover each and every topic in detail. And it also makes sense and can be followed in forming the big picture. The most of the time in a story, the event usually occurs around a particular character. So this is what is a problem, because in the histories written by British historians, most of the content is around the lives of the British Governor Generals, their lives, their duties, their lavish livings and many more. And the activities of Indians simply do not fit with the stories. Indians had no space. Hence, we definitely need another format of history which all the events are related to India. This would mean that the old dates will no longer have the importance they earlier had. So, a new set of dates will become more important for us to know. Just like we read in the beginning that if we give importance to any particular event, automatically the date associated with that event becomes more important as well. So now, if we have to start a new format of history, how do we set a timeline? So let's look at one major approach done by James Mill in 1817. What he did was that he divided the Indian history into three major periods, that is Hindu, Muslims and the Britishers. The reason behind this was that before the Britishers came to India, Hindu and Muslim ruled the country, which is absolutely true. There was lot of discriminations based on religion, caste and superstitious activities such as Sati Pratha, and which was the real life pattern. So with all of these reasons, James Mill thought only Britishers' rule could civilize India and help India to get out of this social stigma. He also felt that it was necessary to introduce European manners, arts, institutions and laws in India. Basically, what he meant was that in India, the time before the British rule was full of darkness, and after the British arrived, India started progressing and got civilized. Now, this kind of meaning cannot be accepted today in scenarios. So, primarily because of the fact that there was no single period of history referred to as Hindu or Muslim, both the faith existed together in these periods. And if you see the rulers like Akbar, who was very tolerant towards Hindu faith, he even had a Hindu finance minister named Todar Mal. So there is no point in categorizing a period based on the religion of a ruler. Hence, we discussed the British classification of Indian history. Now, another division came up where the Indian's history was divided into three parts. That was ancient, medieval and modern. The reason behind this was to present a transition from ancient to modern period, wherein how society developed and moved towards growth like science, reason, democracy, liberty and equality. But again, this kind of division has a problem as well. According to this division, when we say this, society is moving from ancient to modern, that was not completely true, because the modern period is associated with British rule, and if you see, people did not have equality, freedom or liberty, and there wasn't any economic growth and progress. That is why historians refer to the British period as a colonial period and not modern period. So here the next topic in our chapter is what is colonial. So first we will refer to the meaning of colonial. Now what is actually colonial means? It means the establishment of colony in any one territory by a political power from another territory. So the moment the British took over India, our country became a colony. So here this entire book of class 8th is all about how Britishers took control over India and also over its economy and society as well. And also we will read about the changes that British rule brought about in values, tastes, customs and practice. Now the big question is about how do historians write history and what are the sources they actually refer. There has to be some proof or the evidences that guide them, especially about the last 250 years of Indian history. So the answers to that question is the official records of the British administration. Any official document served as an evidence or proof. I think we all can agree on that. And one good thing about the Britishers was that they believe in the act of writing. Means every instructions, plan, policy decisions, agreement, investigation had to be clearly written up, and that was really a good thing, just because written things are more valuable than the oral one, because if we write down things we can later on study further or debate on it. So this was something that the British did religiously. They made reports and notes of almost everything. Now I want you to imagine this. If you write everything, then you must also keep it safe, right? Therefore, the Britishers made a record room in all of their administrative institutions to preserve all the important documents and letters. Now, this was another important step that they took. And today, if you look around in any schools, hospitals, offices, everywhere, you will have a record room or an administrative office that keeps all the documents and informations safely. Now you can think about it, that how this idea came from and where it actually came. In Delhi, we have the National Museums and the National Archives. It is also a record room where all the documents and letters of the government and various institutions and administrators have been arranged to it as per the date. This place has all the documents from 18th century and preserved in a good condition. One most beautiful thing to notice about these documents that Britishers produced was that they were written by calligraphists. Who are actually the calligraphists? These people have beautiful handwritings, and with the introduction of printing machines, these records with such beautiful handwritings go printed in several copies, and they were all spread around. That's how each government departments started using similar handwritings for official letters, so that one could easily look at the letter and identify its importance based on the handwritings. Now, apart from writing records and building record rooms, the Britishers did another important thing, which is conducting surveys. It was a common act under the colonial administration. And look at this line over here. The Britishers believed that a country had to be properly known before it could be effectively administered. Now, don't you think that this is true for everything that you do? If I have to give an example, suppose if you want to sell a product to someone, then you have to know everything about that product so that you can easily educate someone about that product. Only then you can easily sell that product to anyone or anywhere. Therefore, the whole idea of knowing a country could be possible through a massive surveys. Surveys can gather information through different method of observation. If you see today, the government does many surveys for implementing social and economic schemes and policies. The biggest surveys we all can remember is the census, which is done in every 10 years to record the population of a country. By the early 19th century, the Britishers conduct the detailed surveys and literally they map the entire country. I just wanted you all to understand that how systematically they did all of these. In the villages, revenue surveys were conducted, and these are done to the income capacities of a particular place, just to know the income capacities of that particular village or any of the area. It was also done to know about many things such as the soil qualities, the flora, the fauna, the local histories and the cropping pattern, because all these facts were important for proper administration. By the end of the 19th century, census operations were held at every 10 years. These prepared a number of populations in all the provinces of India. And also there were many other surveys such as botanical surveys, zoological surveys, archaeological surveys, etc. Just imagine, all these data would be so helpful to monitor the nation and its resources, and that's what the Britishers did. Now let's understand the last topic of this chapter. Till now we have read about what historians do, how they write history, what are the importance of the official documents, reports, what were the systematic approach the Britishers took for proper administration. And now we will read about what official records do not tell. So basically now this is an interesting turning point of this chapter. So try to understand this carefully. Always remember, official records tells us about official thoughts. That is what the British officials and governments wanted. These records do not tell anything about what the common people in the country felt and what they wanted. To get these information, we have to look somewhere else. We will not find them in official records. So where can we find them? So they can be found in personal diaries of peoples, accounts of pilgrims and travelers, then autobiographies of important personalities, then popular booklets that were sold in any local markets that time. Because we all know that printing press were active at that time. Hence, there must have been many copies of popular booklets, ideas, opinions that were published. So we need to look at them and then try to come up with possible conclusions. And again, all these reports, documents, letters were written by those who were literates. Therefore, it will be difficult to understand the people who are not literates, like the tribals, peasants and the workers in the mines or the poor on the street. Getting to know their lives, this is more difficult task, and going forward we will read about how this can be done. So with this we have come to an end of this chapter. Now whatever doubts or questions arises in your mind, just write it down, and once we will meet, I'll try to solve all those questions. So for your assignment work, you have to note down the following questions and try to resolve it in any of your copy. Firstly, go through the whole chapter and find 10 hard words with their meanings, and also prepare a chart in your copies of all the important dates of Indian history. So that's all for today's video. Stay home, stay safe, all the best.